professionals. While today serves as a momentous occasion to celebrate the achievements of women, let us not confine our recognition to just one day. It's imperative that we carry the spirit of acknowledgement, support, and empowerment with us throughout the entire year. By championing initiatives like the IFAD-KFM and Women Support Group consistently, we can cultivate a more inclusive and equitable aviation community where everyone has the opportunity to flourish and thrive. Let us continue to amplify the voices of women in aviation, dismantle barriers, and pave the way for future generations of female aviators. Together, we have the power to effect lasting and meaningful change. Once again, I extend my deepest appreciation to all our speakers, organizers, and participants for their unwavering dedication to advancing gender equality in aviation. Your commitment serves as a beacon for inspiration to us all. Thank you all, and I wish you a fruitful webinar.
Akwaba, and welcome to Ghana, the center of the world. Welcome to the center of
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to the 10th edition of the GATCA Technical Webinar Series. My name is Wilhelm Sakite Nyako, an air traffic controller with the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, and it is my pleasure to host today's webinar. I will start by apologizing for the late start of today's webinar. It's due to the technical challenge with networks over the west coast of Africa and South Africa. And I hope that you will bear with us, and we are moving straight on to today's program. I begin the program with a short prayer. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for today's webinar. Please guide our deliberations and deepen our understanding of content that is going to be shared. Amen. In many parts of the world, and particularly in Africa, women are still marginalized and obstacles continue to impede their progress as professionals. In the aviation industry, the situation is no different. According to the Regional Personnel by Gender Analysis published under the ICAO Aviation Data Analytics of the aviation professionals interviewed globally, only 5.13% were female. In Africa, 6.08% were female. In Ghana, out of a total of about 150 air traffic controllers and air traffic safety electronics personnel combined, only 11 are female. These figures are alarming. It is acknowledged that a lot has and is still being done to advance the cause of gender equality in all sectors of society. But data such as presented above indicates that we cannot rest on our oars. Instead, we must grip them firmer and row faster. There is the need to revisit the drawing board to find out what is working and what must change. This edition of the Technical Webinar Series is a joint IFATCA, AFM, and GATCA special webinar. It is dedicated to gender equality and will feature celebrated female professionals in aviation, academia, and policy development who will share ideas on how female participation could be enhanced. They will discuss what policies must be developed and those that must be modified to achieve this. Our panelists will also share their personal achievements, revealing how they overcame obstacles and stereotype mindsets to attain the level they are now. That being said, it will not be out of place to celebrate a few achievers who have braved the odds in both past and recent times in some male-dominated aviation fields, and are those examples that many young ladies need to hear about. Mariama Jallo, Gambia's first trained female air traffic controller. Karima Hafid, the first female ATCO in Algeria. Anita Ajay Mashi, first female ATCO in Ghana, and now Ghana's rep to ICAO. Diane Rosine Monique Goru, first female ATCO in Burkina Faso. Kezia Ogutu, first female IFATCA regional EVP for AFM region. Joyce Asante, first female director of engineering at GCAA Ghana. Asli Hassan Abade, first female Somali Air Force pilot. Augustina Nketia Ado, first female area controller and watch manager at GCAA Ghana. Melody Millicent Dankwa, first female pilot in Africa. First licensed female pilot in Africa. Caesar Nzimela, first female CEO of South African Airways, first female founder of a commercial airline in Africa, and the first female to be appointed to the board of IATA in 67 years. And to all our gallant female ATCOs keeping the skies over Africa safe, I say Ayiko. Please join me to welcome our panelists for today. We have Professor Josephine Oluwafumilayo Para Malam. We have Miss Rosemary Chalo. We have Madam Juliet Okai. We have Dr. Landiswa Tafangi. We have Dr. Felicia Agubata and Miss Senyawo Te. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. Before I introduce the first speaker, please take note of the following information. Do follow GATCA on our social media handles and send feedback regarding this webinar to info@gatca.org. This webinar will be uploaded onto the GATCA website, that is www.gatca.org, and also on our YouTube channel. If you have just joined us, please introduce yourself on the chat page, and I will do well to acknowledge those who do so. You can send questions to the Q&A chat box, and I will get our panelists to answer them during the Q&A session. Our first panelist for this morning's webinar is Professor Oluwafumilayo Josephine Paramalam. She is the Director of Studies and the first female member of management at the National Institute, Kuru, Nigeria. She holds a PhD in Development Studies from the University of Leeds, UK, and is a Professor of Gender and Development, as well as a development consultant and women's rights activist. Professor Paramalam has served as a policy and leadership trainer, development consultant, resource person, and principal investigator on a number of collaborative projects within state, national, and international agencies such as ActionAid, Nigeria Defense College, UNESCO, and Women for Women International. She is a member of a vast number of professional bodies and organizational boards. Notably, she is the National Coordinator of Christian Women for Excellence and Empowerment in Nigerian society. She has over 70 publications and conference papers to her credit. Her research interests include gender and development policy, gender-based violence, peace and security, governance and leadership development and public policy. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we welcome the esteemed Professor Para Malam.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure indeed to be among such august personalities. I'm delighted to be here. I want to apologize in advance in case any one of us gets thrown out of the room. I will try to log back in. Could I request to share my screen? Is it possible? Is that already set up that I can share my screen?
Yes, please,
okay,
can do
I
that.
think it's great. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes,
and
I see your screen.
I have only 10 minutes, which is a really tall order, but let's see what can happen within 10 minutes. I actually originally planned for 15 minutes, which was what I was told, but I'll see what I can do. The first disclaimer I would like to put out there is that I'm not somebody who has worked in the aviation industry. but I have tried to look into some of the issues, the gender issues. And of course, gender and development spans a very wide spectrum of sectors, including the aviation industry. And I hope I'll be able to speak to some of the issues, and then we can have a robust discussion afterwards. So let me begin with the face of aviation industry and the paradigm shift, the welcome paradigm shift that we are currently having. If you cast your mind back to several decades ago, and probably even a few years ago, and still to some extent ongoing, the ideal role for the woman in the aviation industry was that ideal, sexy, hot hostess, that everybody wanted to have an affair with, probably on a business trip. And the handsome pilot who was, like every girl's dream. Oh, I want to marry a pilot. So that was kind of the idea, and it ended up kind of pigeonholing women's aspirations as to where they could fit in the aviation industry and where they could actually rise to. In other words, the space that they could occupy within the industry. But I did say that, thankfully, that's changing. And our own first ever female managing director of the Federal Aviation Authority of Nigeria, Bumi Kuku, in 2021 said, we really do need a greater presence of women in both technical and non-technical spheres within the industry, and at all levels as well. So it's not even just, at the bottom level where they currently occupy, as we heard earlier in the introduction. And so the question I just want to ask, and this is one area where I did my PhD research, it was actually specifically on gender mainstreaming. Why actually do we need gender mainstreaming specifically within this all-important industry? Number one, of course, we've already said that gender mainstreaming targets achieving gender equality. That means ensuring that gender perspectives and gender issues, gender concerns are factored in to every aspect of planning and of operationalizing policies and plans and everything that has to do with any organization or industry. The idea is to ensure that there's a level playing field and that all people could have equal opportunity to participate. So generally, when you're talking about gender mainstreaming, you're talking about inclusiveness and diversity and human rights, the right to participate, the right to be able to be at the table, justice concerns and equity, fairness, fair treatment. And these are all very, very important. But more recently, gender mainstreaming is also talking about productivity in the sense that it's also about economic growth, that when women are included, companies, communities, countries do actually better. And it tends to up the efficiency and the effectiveness of organizations, making them more functional, and indeed optimizing human capital investments and human capital performance. So gender mainstream is not just about social justice and the women's rights to be at the table, which it is, but it's also very much about the fact that we want to make the aviation industry much more productive than it already is. And so the compelling case for gender mainstreaming was clearly outlined by Christine Lagarde, who was the former MD of IMF and the current president of the European Community Bank. And, she said, when women do better, countries do too. And this is empirically proven in many, many studies, including meta-studies of countries across the board, sectors, industries across the board found that diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly from the gender angle, brought in much more productivity, economic efficiency, and companies generally perform better all around, both qualitatively and quantitatively. So what are the key issues that I just want to quickly outline that I think we need to kind of really, really delve into? And I know we don't really have the time, but at least let's initiate the conversation around these key issues. So the first one I've already begun to talk about is presence. The fact that in the industry, we have low participation and representation of women. The second one is progress. Even the women who get into the industry, how far are they able to progress along the line. And here we're talking about the work environment that they come into, and the fact that there's an abundance of prejudice and discrimination towards women in the aviation industry, more so that it is regarded as a male preserve, a male-dominated space. And then there's also we need to talk about policy performance. How far so far with the articulated policies or the government rhetoric around trying to improve the space for women, making it more gender sensitive. And we find that there's an inadequate number and quality of gender responsive mechanisms to make the space more gender friendly and more gender aware. Let me just address each one of these quickly. Some of the facts and figures are, they are stark, they are evident. Pilots around the world are just 5.8%. Africa, surprisingly, is doing quite well within that 5.8%, and 5.2% of pilots in Africa are female. So that's is not bad when you compare to the global figure. And then air traffic controllers, 21% of all global, and then for Africa, 15%. Maintenance engineers and technicians is where women are doing dismally in terms of presence, only 3% globally. And I couldn't get the figure for Africa. So maybe somebody here, one of the experts here, may want to give us that. So presence in terms of entry point. I remember a very funny story some years back where I was in a women's meeting, and these women stood up to confess how they had discouraged their daughters from taking up professions like engineering and being a pilot. And one particular woman especially said, my daughter wanted to be a pilot, but I said, oh my God, you'll never get a husband. And so you see, there's that societal prejudice and bias that right from the entry point puts the aviation industry off limits to a whole lot of girls. And there's low human capacity. There's low push even for them to develop technical skills. And of course, the societal perception. And the second issue about presence is ghettoization. And ghettoization simply means that certain areas like air hostess are regarded as, okay, that's where the women should be. It's like the women's clique. So it becomes a ghetto for where women within the industry ought to be. Low-catered jobs, and like I said, the air hostess syndrome. We're moving away from that, I'm glad to say, because now you're talking about cabin crew, and it's becoming a more gender neutral space, which is good. Then on the issue of progress, just 3 issues I want to bring out there. The first is the normalization of gender stereotyping and gender bias, such that even in the workspace, certain things are just seen as normal. For example, you might be in an executive meeting, coffee and tea are served, and the women are expected to be the ones doing the serving of the coffee and tea right there at the table, no matter how, no matter their position. So certain roles, they're the welfare. Oh, if a woman is here, then she should be doing certain things. And that comes from deeply rooted religious and customary belief systems. And then there's this systemic and structural inequality and discrimination that is routinized just in the way organizations work, just in the way offices function, that generally excludes a consideration of women and their lifestyle, but both during work and after work, and the things that they have to grapple with. And then there's institutional resistance to change. So a lot of organizations, they know that there's a problem, and they say there's a problem, and they even say they're going to do something about it, but it stops at rhetoric. And so there are policies out there, but to operationalize the policies is often a problem. And this is because, and this is a point I want us to really remember, the men are the ones who are in the leadership, the top hierarchy. And when you are privileged, it's very difficult to see bias. Bias is often very invisible to those who are privileged. Now, the last thing is policy performance. The policies that are out there, let's take a little look at the fact that, yes, we have gender and equal opportunity strategies, and they're important, and I will delve into recommendations. One of the key ones I found was the 2025 by 2025 campaign initiated by IATA, and this is to ensure that by 2025, at least 25% of all cadres within the aviation industry will be occupied by women. And in addition, it's important not just to have that broad-based policy, it's important to have and to implement gender and sexual harassment policies, because a lot of women within the industry are harassed sexually, both in overt and covert ways that are not totally acknowledged. And then the next thing is human capital investment on the long term, starting with the girl child, beginning to encourage the girl child to go into STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education, to prepare them for that career in aviation, especially the technical aspects, and then the importance of funding or subsidizing on-the-job training for women once they are there, and even entry level, to build their human capacity. And then the other one is addressing underlying belief systems. There's no way we're going to bring change if we don't have a mindset reset. And this is particularly the case in Africa. We need a mindset reset of bosses and even mothers, parents, teachers, and what they believe is okay for the girl child. We must engage with religious and customary beliefs. And this is important for both state and non-state actors. In fact, many times it is the state actors that are the gatekeepers that prevent and resist all efforts to bring about change. So we need to address this mindset thing. And finally, on the issue of role model showcasing, I love the way at the very beginning you celebrated some women across Africa who have achieved great things within the aviation industry. We need more of that on a systematic, concerted manner, right from the kindergarten, showcasing to girls and to boys what women have been able to accomplish, so that they can get that in their mind that, oh, what a man can do, a woman can actually do, and sometimes even better. So we need media advocacy to promote female role models in the industry and to engage that rigorously and aggressively. A final word, I just want to bring out a quote by Alexandre Juniac, the IATA DG and CEO. And I found this very interesting because he's really the chief campaigner here. And he said, the 25 by 2025 campaign provides a global context and encouragement for the many initiatives our members are already taking to address the gender imbalance. I am confident that the 20 by 2025 will be a major catalyst for progress that will set the industry up to achieve even more in this important area. Now, this is the punchline for me. Our work will not be done in 2025. In fact, this is only the beginning. And he went on to say that ultimately what he wants to see is a 50-50 gender balance. And I think that's why we are here today. And I just want to thank you all for listening. I hope I didn't overshoot my 10 minutes. Thank you. I am done, and I hope I was heard.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Yes, we heard you.
Paramalam. Yes, we heard you. Very, very insightful, very, very thought-provoking. Listeners, my audience, I'll just mention a few things that Prof. Malam spoke about that we need to take. One of the things is the policy performance. The policy performance, she said that 4 things: gender and equal opportunity strategies, mentioning the 25 by 2025 IATA has put across. She says human capital investment is needed. We need to prioritize investing in STEM education for women or for ladies. We must address underlying belief systems, and then we must make sure that role model showcasing is not something we just talk about, but we actually do. And one word that I learned today from Prof. Paramalam is ghettoization. Ghettoization. I'll keep it in my little wardrobe. Thank you very much, Prof. Paramalam. I believe that questions will start flowing very soon. I would like to acknowledge a few people who have logged on. I have Bramwell Lumukwama. I hope I have the name correct, from St. Helena Island. I have Christelle Kemavo from Mauritania. Hi, Christelle. I have Ahmad Abba from Nigeria. I have Dega Sunukaban from Arinav, Indonesia. I hope I got the name correct. I have Arnold Nguema from Senegal. I have Rose Lehoto, I believe from South Africa or Southern African. Please keep sending greetings, and I would acknowledge you when I get the time. Okay, our second panelist for this morning's webinar is Dr. Landiswa Tafangi. She's a seasoned professional who has demonstrated unparalleled motivation in exalting the aviation field by being an air traffic controller with 20 years experience, a private pilot with 778 hours of flight on record, and an ATO instructor and a medical doctor specialized in aerospace medicine. She was a member of the board of the Association Professionnelle des Contrôleurs Aériens à Secna, Madagascar, for 14 years before being appointed president of the association in 2022. At the same time, she was elected as the Secretary General of the Syndicat des Contrôleurs Aériens de Madagascar. She is a lifelong learner, advocating a culture of continuous learning, development, and excellence. She is a hardworking, perseverant, and motivated person with an eye for details and perfection. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Landiswa Tafangi. Landiswa,
thank you, Will. Are you reading me?
I read you 5 by
Hello.
5.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Will, for your French, for trying to speak in French a bit. And I'm just honored to be here this morning with you and proud to be part of 6.08% African female aviation. I will add to learn about myself and my stories, my experiences, to discuss and brainstorm on how women participation in African aviation industry could be boosted. At this very beginning, I want to point out that from personal or mainly from familiar reasons, I have been taken 15 months off the air traffic control until now, but I'm still the aviation enthusiast that I was, and I will always be. That's why I'm here this morning. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Landiswa Tafangi. Let me just begin to share my screen. Oops.
Okay, I can see your screen, Dr. Tafangi.
Okay.
Yes, you can put it on full screen now.
Okay. Is it okay?
Perfect.
Okay, let's begin how I got interested in aviation. I didn't know about aviation before. I couldn't even imagine such word existed. To me, aviation is a destiny. When I was in 5th grade, I won a French spelling contest. The prize, it includes the primary school students in the capital city of Madagascar. And the prize I got in that time was a book about how airplanes fly. The book was in English, though the contest was a French one. So I was wondering why would I receive an English aviation book from a French spelling contest. That is why I'm convinced aviation is a destiny, mine. But in that time, I couldn't care less. Also, when I was young, I was interested in business and administration. I dreamed to have my MBA and to go to a business school, which are very different from aviation. And at the end of the 12th grade, I skipped class with most of my classmates as they wanted to deposit their application documents at a SECNA as they want to apply to do the air traffic control exams. So, but as I didn't want to left out, so I deposit my demand as well, which was not part of my plan at all. But at the end, among the 30-ish students from my class, two was chosen by a SECNA. So that was me and my best friend. So just to say that I meant to pass that exam. I was predestined to be an ATC. And the funniest part is at the very beginning of my ITC courses, it was like I had hard time to understand comprehend things well, and only after visiting the control tower, I discovered the amazing world of aviation, with which I'm falling in love, and I'm still in love with until now, 22 years later. Let's continue about my work life and experiences. I begin my ITC studies in October 2002 at the EAMAC, École africaine de la météorologie et de l'aviation civile, which is in Niger. And I got my air traffic controller diploma in January 2005. From there, I had been an ATC trainee until I got my qualifications in August 2006. So I was qualified as airdrome, terminal, and en route controller in the ICC of Antananarivo. And I had been working throughout these three control positions, nights and day, for the two last decades. My work life, my work life patterns allowed me to 3 hours, 3 days and a half days rest after my night shift. So while being an air traffic controller and having my medical study courses at university during my days off, I got married in 2008 and I had my firstborn. And I had my second and my last child before having my medical doctor degrees in September 2014. I intentionally put the fact that I am a mother in that part of my presentation, because for me, being a mother is a full-time job, and it's even the best job ever, better than aviation even to me. And I intentionally talk about that also, because being a mother of three and continuing to thrive in everything I do and I undertake.
Dr. Tafangi, we seem to have lost you briefly over there. Can you hear us? Hello, Dr. Tafangi? Dr. Tafangi, we seem to have lost you. Okay. Okay, it seems we have lost Dr. Tafangi. She will be back and she will complete what she was giving us. But I must say that we already are impressed by what she has achieved, medical doctor and air traffic controller. And I know she was going to talk about being a pilot also and having 3 kids. Amazing feat. Okay, whilst we wait for Dr. Tafangi, are you back?
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know where did I've been cut. Where did I stop?
Just after you mentioned it was wonderful being a mother.
Okay. So I think I said that I was proud of the fact that of being mother free and thriving in aviation. In aviation,
Okay,
and
could you have the
I
full
will.
screen?
Sorry.
Full
Okay.
screen, yes,
Okay.
please.
I'm sorry about that. Okay, so after my MD, I had my aviation medical specialization studies at Université de Paris, and I got my aerospace medicine diploma in 2016. From there, I was involved in the Civilian Medical Aviation Council of Madagascar, as I had been the permanent member from 2020. The CMAC is a council of 8 aviation medical experts dealing with the final decision about the medical fitness for aviation license holders, such as pilots, ATCs, and cabin crew. And then in 2018, I decided to take my pilot studies. I got my commercial pilot license with instrumental rating theoretical certificate in 2019. And after some practices, I got my private pilot license in 2001. So I decided to have my pilot studies because being a pilot was the one which is missing to me to master aviation. And then I was an antecedent, a medical airspace special medical aviation medical specialist, a private pilot, and a proud mom of 3. But I was involved in another aviation-related activities as well, like giving human performance courses for students pilots. I was also teaching aeronautical first aid for cabin crew students as well.
Hello, Dr. Tafangi. Dr. Tafangi, we seem to have lost you again. Can you hear us? Dr. Tafangi, can you hear us? Okay, we seem to have lost Dr. Tafangi again, and I'm hoping she is able to come back and come and finish where she left off. Dr. Tafangi, can you hear me? Okay, we would have Dr. Tafangi back and then she will finish up. Whilst we wait, let me introduce our third speaker. Our third speaker is Miss Rosemary Chalu. She's our third panelist. She holds a master's degree in operations management from the University of Nairobi and an undergraduate degree in aviation management from Moi University in Kenya, and is currently pursuing her doctorate studies. She has worked as an air traffic controller in Kenya, and currently, she's the chief instructor, air traffic services at the East African School of Aviation. Ms. Chalu represents the IFATCA Africa and Middle East region as IFATCA Professional and Legal Committee member. She has written various aviation articles and produced the first aviation magazine in Kenya called Go Flight Magazine. She also started the first ever aviation knowledge sharing platform in Kenya called the Aviation Mentor. Her values include excellence, professionalism, hard work, integrity, and respect for others. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Chalu. Ms. Chalu, you have the floor. Ms. Rosemary Chalu,
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. I want to first start by thanking you for this opportunity to speak about a topic that is also very dear to my heart about gender empowerment. And first, before I tell you about myself, I want to just make a few comments. Previous panelists have done a very good job in highlighting the issues that women face every day in the aviation industry, faced even beyond the aviation industry. And I was just listening to the ICAO Secretary General, just giving the data about women and how far we've gone with the women inclusion in the aviation industry. And he mentioned a figure of 0.5% growth in 5 years. Can you hear me?
No. Yes,
Okay.
Ms. Chalu,
So
I can
if you
hear
look
you.
at this, yes, thank you very much. So if you look at the statistics, really, 0.5% growth in the aviation industry in 5 years, it means that women inclusion in the aviation industry is growing at 0.1% per annum, which is very minimal. And I remember in his speech, he said that if we continued with the same kind of growth of 0.1% per annum, then it could take 100 years for us to have equality, the equality as envisioned in the aviation industry. So the other thing I would like to comment about is the more needs to be done, and we need to have targeted solutions to have more women included. For example, it shouldn't be okay, or it shouldn't have to be for a woman to sacrifice her femininity just to fit in a certain profession. It should be okay that you can be as feminine as possible and you can still work in a male-dominated world. So we do not need to sacrifice our femininity to fit in the aviation industry. So perhaps even the solutions that are the targeted solutions should go towards just having accommodative solutions for the female in the aviation industry. And as I say this, I have experienced it firsthand when I joined the aviation industry as an air traffic controller. The common saying then used to be that air traffic control does not have gender. We used to be told that every air traffic controller should be a man. So you had to be tough. You could not just cry and behave like a woman when you are an air traffic controller. So that used to be the kind of things that would welcome us in the control room, that you have to forget that you're a woman when you're entering the control room. And how did that affect us? It affected us because at that time, we did not have a special rooms for special considerations for women. And remember, I joined the aviation industry in 1999. And we would be told we would use the same restrooms as men. We would go to, if you needed a 5 minutes break, or you'd have to go to the same restroom as a man, because really there is no gender consideration. And I'm glad as I talk now, because something has been done. Strides have been made towards accommodating women, including even having mothers' rooms in our control rooms. And I want to say at this point that my journey in air traffic control has been purely because of first, I have been motivated by women who have gone ahead of me. And the first motivation I've had is from my own mother. My own mother had 3 girls and she was a single mom, so she had no choice but to encourage us and to push us towards achieving. And I would credit my mom so much, because she really encouraged us when we were young that, hey, you have no excuse. Being a woman is no excuse for not achieving. So you can achieve anything that you put your heart to, that you put your hands to. So she did not raise us as women. She raised us to be able to achieve and to survive in any kind of environment. And I also want to say I've also achieved because I was encouraged by a woman who was, at that time, they were being called the air hostesses. And she encouraged me to join the aviation industry. So in as much as I didn't know much about air traffic control, she encouraged me to dream about aviation. She encouraged me to dream about being in the aviation industry. And I remember when we went for a school trip to the airport, I was maybe in junior school, and we went for a trip to the airport. And I told myself that one day I must work at the airport. I did not care whether I was going to be a cleaner or, I just wanted to work in the aviation industry. And at that time, this kind of careers like air traffic control, they were not common. You would not hear them commonly mentioned in the streets. We just knew aviation is for pilots and flight attendants. So I chanced upon, I think, Dr. Tafangi there said, for me, I think I was just meant to be in there, falling on my plate, that directed me to become an air traffic controller. So another lady I would like to really credit for my being here is Madam Kezia Ogutu. She's an achiever and she's someone I really look up to. And her having become the first woman leader in the IFATCA African Middle East region also shaped my mind to know that actually this is achievable. This is a dream I can have. So what I would like to say is it is important to have to encourage women in the aviation industry, and because you don't know who else you are, who's inspire a woman. You're not just inspiring one person, you are inspiring almost like a whole community, and you're inspiring a whole village. And I want to finish my opening commentary by saying that we should normalize having women in every sector. The professor put it very well. Why should it be the exception? I look forward to a time where we will not just be talking about having the first woman did this, the first woman did this. It should be the normal. We should normalize having women in every profession and in all fields, not just in the aviation industry, but also out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rosalind Chalu. Very insightful, very informative. 3 things I picked from your address. She says, we must have targeted solutions to solve the problem. And Prof also mentioned, I'm linking it up, Prof mentioned that when you are privileged, it's difficult to see bias. I think that is to the men, but to ask the men, we should stop being biased because we are in privileged positions. Ms. Chalu also mentioned we should not sacrifice femininity. And thirdly, let's normalize having women in every profession. Thank you very much, Ms. Chalu. And I believe that people would have a lot of questions for you during the Q&A session. At this juncture, I would find out, Dr. Tafangi, are you back? Loud and clear?
Yes, I'm here, but I don't know where I did stop, but I was almost at the end of my presentation, so.
Okay, I think you stopped at the point where you're talking about other works you have been doing in the aviation industry. I think you talked about training, doing some training for pilots or so.
Okay. I got just let me just continue with that. I was involved in aviation related activities as giving courses for students pilots and cabin crew, and you told it already. I was the president of the Malagasy Air Traffic Controller Associations, also led the Malagasy Air Traffic Controller Union. But above all, I was I see myself as a social entrepreneur, working in several social projects. I'm also a woman and youth activist, giving several conferences, especially in personal development and time management. That is what I wanted to say, and that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'm terribly sorry for the interruption. That is the first time I had an internet issue from my area. So my apology for that. Thank you.
No problem, Dr. Tafangi, and thank you very much for the presentation. I know that you would have a lot of questions. At least I know that I need inspiration from you. I want to add 2 more jobs to my already 2 that I have, air traffic controller and a father, learning from you. So thank you very much, Dr. Tafangi, and we would continue. At this juncture, I want to acknowledge a few more people who have joined us. I believe we have Melba Chubi from Zambia. We have Beatrice Omolo from Kenya, and we have Annette Ambulaya from Zambia. Forgive me if I mention your name wrongly. I apologize for that. Okay, we will move on to our 4th panelist. Our 4th panelist is Ms. Senyawote. Ms. Senyawote is a current safety manager at Passion Air, a local airline in Ghana. She holds a bachelor's degree, first class honors in aerospace engineering from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. On graduating, she was ranked 3rd overall and the top female in her class. She also has certification as a project management professional. An achievement-driven individual that she is, her primary aspiration is to make a meaningful impact, particularly in science and technology. At just 29 years old, Senyawo made history as one of the youngest Ghanaian females appointed as a GCAA-approved airline post holder in the safety manager position. Senyawo's values are discipline, hard work, integrity, and excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Ms. Senyawo Tay. Ms. Tay, how are you doing?
Good morning, everyone. I am very happy to be here, and I'm doing very well. Thank you, Will. Okay. As we already know, I studied aerospace engineering, and afterwards, somehow one way or another, I ended up in the aviation industry. I rose through the ranks from line maintenance through quality, and now I'm in the safety department, heading the safety department actually. Like I said, I'm very happy to be here and maybe a little intimidated with all the wonderful things and experiences that all the women that have shared so far. It's so inspiring for me. That being said, I am a proponent for gender equality. I believe that whatever it is that men can do, we can do as well. We just need a platform to do so, which is why I'm very happy to be here. I am hopeful that we will be able to exchange ideas and learn from each other. I have already learned ghettoism, like Wilhelm said, from our professor, and I can say that I have experienced that people meet me, ask me what I do, and when I say I work in an airline, the first question they ask me is, are you an air hostess? And I'm like, why does that have to be the first thing that you think about when you ask me? Why can't I be anything else in the industry? So this is why this discussion is very important. I believe that we will be able to bring these issues to the forefront and then push our men to do more and to stop stereotyping us and putting us in boxes. We are not supposed to be in these boxes. We can do whatever we want to do as long as we are able to achieve it. What I would like to tell my fellow women out there is that if you have a dream, pursue it. If you want to end up in aviation, pursue it. Do not let anyone stop. You should know that your support system is actually in the industry. Yes, maybe there are some issues that we have to work on in terms of policy building and all of that, but it starts with you. You are the one who has to do something about it. You are the one who has entered the industry in the first place for these policies to be affected and improved. Because how will we know if these policies are good if there is nobody out there to test it? So please don't stop. Please pursue the engineering. If you're good at math, pursue the math. Don't let anyone stop you. And don't give up. It's going to be hard. I've been through a lot there. I've seen some fantastical equations, and there are situations that I have found myself having to solve. But through all of that, I was able to get through it. And if do it, anyone else can. So please, please, please don't give up. Keep the fight on. You can do it. The last thing I'll say is network, network, network. I would not have been here if it wasn't for the people that I have had the opportunity to meet throughout my schooling career, my schooling as well as my aviation career. So please, those people that you meet out there, build proper relationships with them. Give them the opportunity to help you and also help them. One last thing I would like to talk about and what is dear to me is the visibility of we, the women that are already in the professional industry. You would find out that we don't know much about each other. If it wasn't for this platform, I would not have had the pleasure of meeting and seeing these wonderful panelists over there. And I think that this visibility is key to bringing people in the first place, and women specifically in the first place, into the industry for us to be able to move forward. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Miss T. Thank you so much. One of the things that I got from you is network, network, network. I will not stop saying that. Miss T also said, what men can do, women can also do. And she says that we have to create the platform. There is a need to have the platform to make sure that the women are doing what they ought to be doing. And then she said, keep the fight on. Don't give up when obstacles come. Don't give up when we, the men, are trying to put obstacles in your way. Keep the fight on. And you will certainly be in a position like she is now. Thank you very much, Miss Day. I know that a lot of questions will come for you in the Q&A session. At this juncture, we'll take a video from IFATCA AFM, some goodwill message to all our ladies and to every one of us.
Of IFATCA, Africa and Middle East region. First of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to all our esteemed speakers for their time and support in sharing their experiences and providing our region with their insights, and to the organizers, GATCA, for putting together this impactful event. A special appreciation and thank to our Regional Vice President for the Western region, Ahmed Abba, for his coordination of this webinar as well. As we commemorate the International Women's Day, it's a fitting occasion to reflect on the strides we have made in recognizing the significant contributions of women in the aviation industry. Initiatives like the IFATCA IFM and the establishment of the Women Support Group underscore our collective commitment to fostering an inclusive and supportive environment for all aviation professionals. While today serves as a momentous occasion to celebrate the achievements of women, let us not confine our recognition to just one day. It's imperative that we carry the spirit of acknowledgement, support, and empowerment with us throughout the entire year. By championing initiatives like the IFATCA IFM and Women Support Group consistently, we can cultivate a more inclusive and equitable aviation community where everyone has the opportunity to flourish and thrive. Let us continue to amplify the voices of women in aviation, dismantle barriers, and pave the way for future generations of female aviators. Together, we have the power to effect lasting and meaningful change. Once again, I extend my deepest appreciation to all our speakers, organizers, and participants for their unwavering dedication to advancing gender equality in aviation. Your commitment serves as a beacon for inspiration to us all. Thank you all, and I wish you a fruitful webinar.
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful message. And we always love and cherish the women in our aviation industry. At this juncture, I would introduce the fifth panelist. Our fifth panelist is Engineer Dr. Felicia Nena Agubata. She holds a Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science and Engineering, a master's degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, as well as a doctorate degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Communication Engineering option. She commenced her career in the aviation sector with the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency as an electrical engineer too. She is presently a Deputy General Manager and Head of Terrestrial Services Department at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos. Dr. Agubata is Vice President, Corporate Services of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. She was the 15th President of the Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria, APWEN. She is also a member of the Board of Trustees, Women in Aviation Nigerian Chapter. She is a STEM and gender equity and inclusion advocate, a committed change agent. She is passionate about girl-child education and women empowerment. She is a recipient of multiple awards. It is worthy to note that Runners Station Lane on the London Metropolitan Piccadilly line was renamed after Felicia Nena Agubata. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Dr. Agubata.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the intro. I want to first of all thank the FATCA and Ghana GATCA for the invitation to be part of this session. The topic under discussion is actually apt. It's a topic I'm actually very, very passionate about, being a STEM and Dream Gap advocate. We all know that mainstreaming gender in aviation industry involves promoting not just gender equality, but also ensuring that women have equal opportunities, both for employment, advancement, particularly in all aspects in the sector, just like the men. I'll use myself as an example. I joined the industry 22 years ago as an electrical engineer too. If I didn't have that opportunity 22 years ago, I would not be able to be where I am today. But moving forward, we need to make concerted effort to ensure that we have more women enrolled in STEM that will lead them to a career in the technical fields. Statistics have shown data reports for ATCOs and ATSEP. By ATCOs, I mean air traffic controllers, ATSEP, air traffic safety electronic personnel, male and female, as at 11th of March 2024 by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Nigeria. We have 586 licensed air traffic controllers and 626 licensed air traffic safety electronics personnel. Among them, we have 516 male as ATCOs and 555 female at ATSEP. Total of 1,212 men in the technical total average of air traffic controllers and air traffic safety electronic personnel, while we have 141 of them are female, making about 11.6% only of women in the technical area in the industry in Nigeria. How do we ensure that we achieve equality in this sector? How do we ensure that we'll have equal opportunity for women in employment and men in this industry? First, we have to start with training and education. How do we get that? We have to ensure that at the grassroots from primary school, that we get students, females, to get interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This we've done in the 2019-2018, when I was the president of APWEN. We started a project called Invent It, Build It, sponsored by Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, that's NNPC. They sponsored this project. We were able to give scholarship to schoolgirls in primary school who have shown interest in STEM to pursue their career in sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics that will lead them to a career in engineering. We ensure that we give scholarship to 81 pupils across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. We had 7 states covered, and we were able to build a first of its kind, a science and technology laboratory in a primary school in Africa. We had 2 science and technology laboratories already completed in Misau, Bauchi State, and another one in Edo State, South Nigeria, and then Northeast Nigeria. We need to also intentionally have workplace policies that will encourage women to be the best they can. Because I think I've shown that women are also as good as men, but we have to be intentional. We had a study and a project sponsored by the Royal Academy of Engineering in UK under the African Catalyst Project, phase 3 and 4. She Engineer, Invent It, Build It, and then She Engineer 30% Club, where we got engineering businesses and organizations to commit to employing 30% of female by year 2030, using the 30-30 strategy and principle. By that, they have to employ women, 30% of female yearly, incrementally. And I must tell you that this particular project has yielded results. This project was executed in 2022 in Nigeria through the academic grant. By 2023, November to be precisely, we had the first female managing director of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, and also the first female director of Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. All due to the government commitment, the agency's commitment, because we had these companies and organizations commit to this She Engineer 30% Club policies. We had Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria and NAMA management commit to this particular document, and it's been implemented. I must also tell you that the country has also gone ahead to implement even higher than what we asked for, 35% across board, ensuring that in leadership roles, that they have 30% of women in all these roles. We must be intentional about our recruitment and retention policies. Women, it isn't about recruiting women yearly to ensure that we have more women in the workforce. There must be zero tolerance for harassment and discrimination. Gender bias should be a thing of the past. We were able to reach out in each of the political zones to ensure that we talk to the parents, talk to the community leaders about allowing their girl child not just to trade, not just to sell things in the market, but to do what, to ensure that they go to school. Because in some areas in the country we go to, the advocacy is not just about STEM. We have to start from telling them to allow their girl child to go to school first. We need to get them in the classroom before we talk about STEM. And it has yielded results, because some of those girls that we preached to in 2018 are all, some of them are reading engineering presently, some of them are in science related courses, some of them are actually pursuing careers also in the industry in aviation. And I must tell you that the future is actually very, very bright. There must be also what they call promotion of role models, the power of positive example. I must tell you, I had a role model that I looked up to when I joined the industry, and he has actually encouraged me to be who I am today. I owe her all I am today, because it was through her persuasion, through her positive example that led me through. So we need to have more of these role models being brought up, being showcased in the media, being showcased everywhere, so that these young ones can actually do what? Look at these people and model themselves towards attaining their desired goals. Mentorship cannot also be left out. We need to mentor the young ones. We need to encourage, not just for them to take up careers in aviation and in technical field, but also to retain those careers. Sometimes we tend to lose focus in terms of, oh, some look out for maybe, oh, this particular job is not paying now. Let me look for one that pays now. But I must tell you that in the aviation industry, for all cadres and for all careers in the industry, is the pay is very, very relative. It's very, very much okay. You can actually earn your living or do whatever you want to do in the industry. Because women, I must tell you, don't need to raise roses. All we need is to plant in our gardens opportunities. Skill up, we need to skill up and ensure that those skills that we'll need tomorrow, that we acquire them today, because the future is female. And we also know that when women rise together, we are unstoppable. Raise each other up at any particular point in time, ensure that we are not just our sister's keeper, but we are brother's keeper. At the same time, uphold the ethics of that profession that we are in moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bata. Thank you very much. Yes, the future is female indeed. Let us not forget that. The future is female, and we must have positive examples. Thank you very much. At this time, we are informed that Prof. Paramalam will be leaving us. She has a very important meeting, I believe, with the state. So we would quickly go to a question that has been sent or posed for her so that she can address it before she leaves. But I would entreat that the rest of our panelists, please stay on so that people can engage with you and know more. They can have their questions also sent to you. So Professor Paramalam, can you hear me?
Please. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Absolutely.
Okay. So the question that has been put across is, what do we mean by femininity? What do we mean by femininity? And do we need to interrogate what the term femininity means or implies for female identity and roles?
Thank you very much for the question. And let me apologize to everyone that I have to leave. It's just that this meeting was pre-scheduled and I can't miss it. So I apologize. I really wish I could stay on to the end. But yes, incidentally, I actually was the one who was interrogating and asking that question, simply because one of the panelists has talked about the fact that we shouldn't have to sacrifice our femininity. And I do agree with her. that we shouldn't have to sacrifice who we are as self-defined by us. But then I think it's important that we also ask ourselves, is femininity what it's made out to be, particularly in Africa? Like she talked about being able to cry. And very often boys are told that, oh, you're not a female, so don't cry. So if you see a guy who is sensitive and who cries, suddenly he's being told that he's feminine. And so this idea of femininity also plays into the kind of occupations and work roles that people may choose. Somebody like the example I gave of the lady who said she told her daughter, no, you can't be a pilot, you won't get a husband. That's also about telling her about what the feminine role and the feminine identity should be. And you see a girl who is a tomboy, for instance, she loves her scruffy shoes, she loves to wear jeans, and maybe she doesn't really want to do makeup and all of that. Then it's like, oh, she's butch or she's this. So I'm saying that we also need to challenge what we understand to be femininity, and also not pigeonhole ourselves as women to say that this is what it means to be feminine. I love what the other lady talked about, the doctor spoke about when she highlighted the idea that motherhood is very important to most of us women. I'm a mother of 5, and I think being able to raise 5 children, 5 grown-up children, 2 of whom are married, to that level has been a great joy and a pleasure, and I wouldn't have exchanged it for anything. But at the same time, there are other women who may not be so interested in having a career as a wife and a mother, and that should be equally valid. That shouldn't take away from whether they're feminine or not. And I'm saying that we need to begin to define ourselves for who we are as women, that we can be who we want to be, who we understand ourselves to be. That's what I meant by that. And please, just a final word. I really like what the last speaker said when she talked about mentorship and gender solidarity. And I was going to say, if I was given an opportunity to say what word would I want to put out there, it is that word of women who have made it, looking back to pull other women up and make sure that they create opportunities and spaces for them, and that they don't have to have the same struggles that they had while they had to push through the glass ceiling. I think it's so important that we have those mentorship. And then the male champion, the gender male champion, we women can't do it by ourselves. We need men like the ones on this panel today to partner with us, and we need to identify such men, leverage them, because sometimes what a woman will say in 10 words, a man will say it in 2 and get it done simply because he's better heard. And so I think we really salute those of you who come alongside women, and we
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Paramalam. I don't know if Prof can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. I can.
You went off just at the tail end, but you had just said thank you very much. So I believe you were just thanking us at that tail end. And one of the things that I picked up, in fact, it was one of the questions that I was going to ask you about how your spouse has supported you in all of this, in achieving this. Has there been any friction?
So I'm one of the lucky ones, I must say. Right from the beginning of my career, my husband had always supported me, even when I wanted to go and do a master's and a PhD and everything that I set for myself to achieve. He has been my greatest cheerleader. And why I say I'm one of the lucky ones is because I have so many colleagues and friends and associates who haven't been quite so lucky. And I know that many of them have had an uphill task in trying to get from one point in their careers to the other, simply because it was seen as an affront to their husband's ego, or it was seen that they were not prioritizing the family. So one way or the other, that my spouse has been an anchor point for me. But I must say that in the workspace, I have encountered a lot of pushback, particularly from men folk who do not always find it easy dealing with a woman who they feel is a strong woman. So I've had a situation where you see if a woman is decisive, the men say, oh, she's aggressive. But if a man is decisive, they say, oh, he's a good leader, he's a firm leader, he knows how to lead. And so you constantly have to kind of apologize for your gifts, for your talents, for being better, constantly being reminded, remember, you're just a woman, you're a wife. That's always out there, a subtle reminder that, yeah, don't let it go to your head, even though you've got all these achievements. So I think while at the home front, I've had a really, really positive experience with my own spouse. In the workspace, sometimes there's been a lot of pushback, and that's something we all need to address.
Thank you very much, Prof. Paramalam. So my advice to ask the men, be a supportive spouse. And Prof, if you have just a minute, a question just came up.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, one of our audience, a member of the audience wants to know, he says, I want to thank our lecturer for her wonderful and indeed interesting presentation. Why, according to her, are women not represented as much as men do, generally speaking, and in the aviation sector particularly? And then she also adds, are the hiring criteria more in favor of men? If not, then why do we not have as many female pilots, ATCOs, technicians as men? Do we have enough women ready, qualified for employment, but that are not hired? The idea is to make us focus on the root causes of this situation of imbalance, actually and properly address them. So the question wants to find out, are the women being already prepared for work in the aviation technical areas? Is that a factor? Is that a issue that they are not there? That is why we don't have them represented properly.
Yes,
I don't know.
I got the question. I actually tried to type in a response, and some of us, some of the speakers, we spoke to it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
some of the presenters, others, including myself, did speak to this, in which we said that the playing field isn't level for women, right from the entry point through progression from promotions and recruitments and whatever you have. Yes, so there are different things. One is that, like the idea of stereotyping in schools, in communities, in homes, where the girl child is not socialized to mentally see herself as a technical person or as somebody in a typically male dominant profession. So already there is that mental block, that psychological barrier that is placed before the girl child. There's also the cultural barrier of expectations, where she's told, oh, if you're a pilot, you will never get a husband, or you're going to be going off and leaving your husband, who's going to look after your children. So in other words, the domestication of the woman often prevents her. And we are not saying that we don't want to be wives and mothers, but we are saying that the industry needs to respond. And I think that the speaker before me may put this really well, that the industry needs to respond in creating a gender-friendly environment for women who do want to have careers, and at the same time, not jettison their domestic roles. There needs to be a way in which gender-responsive mechanisms can be put in place in the workspace so that such women can thrive. And companies that have done so, there's a lot of research out there that shows that companies that have made allowances to accommodate women's domestic roles actually inadvertently do much better in terms of their output and even their performance. So yes, it's one of capacity, it's one of sociocultural bias and stereotyping, but it's also psychological in terms of the way women themselves see themselves and how a lot of women have to overcome a lot of these psychological barriers that men don't have, these invisible barriers within that men don't have. So those are three things that I think we need to intentionally and deliberately address through policies, through programs, through education, sensitization, and enlightenment programs at all levels, for parents, for teachers. In the classroom, I did a research on girl child education in Nigeria and Tanzania a few years back, and we found that in the classroom, very often girls are discouraged from taking science subjects. it's a gender-coded subject, as if, oh, that's more for the boys. And the same thing in aviation, a lot of the technical roles are gender-coded to seem as if they are male roles. So I think that is what I was trying to say. And I agree with the last speaker that it demands deliberate, intentional policy action.
Thank you very much, Professor Paramalam. I'll say to us men, don't domesticate the woman and expect her to be magically prepared for the work you wanted to do in future. Prof. Paramalam, thank you very, very much. And it's good to have had you on this platform. I hope that we would have more platforms to interact with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. I'll take this opportunity to acknowledge Hamida Ahmed Mohammed, the chair of the IFATCA AFM Women Support Group. Hamida, it's good to have you on this webinar. Our sixth and final panelist is Madame Juliet Okai. Madame Juliet Okai is the Deputy Director General in charge of Finance and Administration at the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. She is the first female to hold that position. She previously worked as Director of Audit at the Ghana Airports Company Limited for over 10 years. She is the immediate past president and council member of the Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana, a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors Global, as well as a member of the Association of Airports Internal Auditors USA. She is on the audit committees of the Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority and the National Communication Authority. Recently, she was inducted as a Chartered Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. Madame Juliet Okai is passionate about equal opportunities for women. Her passion is to train more female aviation enthusiasts. Her passion to train more female aviation enthusiasts is evident in her work as the president of the Women in Aviation International Ghana chapter. Her values are accountability, integrity, discipline, and hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, help welcome my boss, Madame Juliet Okai. Madame, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Wilhelm. I'm very excited to be on this platform, to be part of this panelist of a very, very good and knowledgeable women. I think I'm the only administrator amongst them. But I'm encouraged by what they have achieved, and I hope that I'll be able to also contribute to the discussion. Thank you very much. So for me, I started as a young person in an accounting firm, being trained as a management trainee. I mean, when you want to do the professional accounting, it's one of the safest and best ways to develop your career. So from there, I was employed at GASEM Limited. It's a manufacturing company in the internal audit department and also in the accounting department. After spending over 15 years in GASEM, I felt I needed to move on. So I applied to about 3 organizations. And then I was called into an interview. I didn't even know anything about Ghana Airports Company, but I did a small research. And then when I was called for the interview, fortunately, amongst a host of men, I was only female and I got the job. So that is how come I got into Ghana Airports Company as a director for audit. I had a lot of work to do because it was a fairly new company. So I had to help institute measures to develop the department. And as an internal auditor, your role is also to ensure that you add value to your organization. For that matter, because I was new in the aviation industry, I had a lot of things to learn. I had to learn very, very, very fast. Fortunately, my managing director, Madame Doreen, was very supportive. I mean, she exposed me to a lot of training. She would call me into meetings, come and sit in. At a point, I was even the secretary to the management group. So I had to learn very fast. And I also had to depend on the experiences of my colleague directors, you know. And then I also had to learn how to work in the midst of like men. Fortunately, I have always found myself in male-dominated areas, so it was not too difficult. But you need to develop styles to work so that you get everybody on board, because as an internal auditor, you are auditing the work of other people. If you don't understand what they have done, forget it. You can't even make any input. So I had to develop certain leadership styles to be able to do my work well. And it paid off. After about over 10 years, the government appointed me as the Deputy Director General in charge of finance and admin to the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. I was thrilled. I was nervous because even though we find ourselves in the same community, it's just a walking distance from Ghana Airports to civil aviation. For me, it was a new environment. But I told myself two things. One, I was not going to disappoint the appointing authority, and I was not going to disappoint women, because I was the first female to be appointed into that position. So I had psyched myself to make sure that I'll make an impact. So I came into Ghana Civil Aviation with a very positive mind. And because as an auditor, Ghana Airports was being regulated by civil aviation, I had an idea of some of the things civil aviation does. My only handicap was with the technical area, that is the ATC, the engineering and all that. So my initial focus was really to appreciate and understand what they do. And whilst in Ghana airports, the thinking was that especially the ATCs were very difficult people to deal with. So I told myself that, no, I need to be able to appreciate, understand them, to be able to work well with them. So that is one thing I did. And then there were a few challenges, but like I said, you always have to have strategies to surmount these challenges. And I think that so far it's been good. The men have been very supportive, very, very supportive. That one I have to say it. I have my predecessor has been very good. Former Director General, Engineer Lotte. I mean, I can call them at any time to ask questions, and they're always ready to help me. And what I have found, per the statistics of Ghana Civil Aviation, we have 31% women. But I want to veer into the technical area. When you take the ATC, the ladies or female are about 9%, and for the engineers, about 7%. So averagely, the women in the technical area is about 9%. The interesting one I found was the AIS, where we have more female than male. AIS, we have 18 female and 12 male. That is a interesting bit. But I think on the whole, it's been good. I personally believe in affirmative action, but what I've realized is that affirmative action alone without proper strategies it cannot achieve anything. Fortunately, in Ghana, and I remember when we were growing up, we had this send your girl child to school, it was on TV all over the place. So as we speak, we have a lot of girls in our secondary schools and in the universities. Now, what the government is doing is the STEM. It has introduced STEM. We are building STEM schools all over the place, and they are encouraging the girls to take up the STEM program. Recently, the Minister for Education, which is very, very good, he said that they were going to introduce aviation programs in our basic second cycle schools, which is also very, very laudable. Now, I think that at the organizational level, that is at GCA, what we have to do is to make a conscious effort. We are lucky the government is doing all this. So we also have to make a conscious effort to get in girls. One way is the National Service Program. We need to let the National Service Secretariat, we should give them what we need, the criteria, so that when they are posting, they will make a conscious effort to give us girls or students from the universities who have done sciences and all that, so that when they come in also at that level, at the organizational level, they are doing their national service. We train them Most of the time, we use them for administrative work. No, we need to train them. And then when they have done their service, instead of saying that they should go, the good ones can be retained. And then by doing that, when you open up for recruitment, I can tell you that the girls will compete and they will beat the gentlemen. The recent recruitment we did in ATC, 24 men, no single female. And I'm told that they didn't qualify. I think we must move away from that. Yes, I believe in a quota system. But if we say take 10% women, 25% women, and we don't work towards it from the base, that is from the basics, then we will not achieve it. So I believe that, well, I was just thinking about something. Why is it that when children are growing up, they will say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be this, I want to be a police. I've never heard any child say, I want to be, maybe you hear air hostess, because that is what they are exposed to. So we must make a conscious effort to expose our girls to aviation. So then I come to women in aviation. That is one of our passion. So every year we have these girls in aviation program where we bring about 200 girls to the airport. We bring in aviation professional, that is female, to come and interact with them. We give them a tour of the airport. But our challenge is when they go back to school, there's no continuation. So every year you select girls from different schools to come and participate in this program, and then you lose them along the line. So I'm particularly happy that the Ministry of Education has seen the need to introduce aviation courses. So we'll just have to follow up after every program. We'll follow up, because what happens is these girls will leave the schools and then maybe move on to the universities or whatever. And then with that, we also have this engagement with national service. And then when they come in, we make a conscious effort to train them well, so that when the time comes for us to recruit them, it doesn't become a challenge, but it becomes so easy. And then so that gradually we will hit that mark of 25% getting women into the aviation sector. So basically, that is what I have to say for now. I'm ready for your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Juliet Okai. Wonderful presentation. I like the way you started. You said that when you became Deputy Director General, you made it your point that you will not disappoint women. And I am sure I can boldly say that you have not disappointed women. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. At this time, we would move straight to our Q&A section, and we would ask some questions. And my audience, you can let your questions be pouring in. I would ask them on your behalf. My first question goes to Dr. Tafangi. Dr. Tafangi, can you hear me? Great, great. Has the journey been... Okay, I can hear you now. Dr. Tafangi, want to know, has the journey been smooth? And what were the major challenges or obstacles you had to face?
Okay, to answer this question, I want to share again my screen, if you don't mind. Because,
please go ahead.
Yes. Just a moment, please.
Am I on?
Okay, so the challenge of us as a woman in aviation were very many, but I will share, I will mention 4 of them this morning. First of all is the work itself. As we know that aviation is known as a word for a man. So it might be really true, considering the fact that most of my female colleagues suffered from miscarriages, maybe to the work patterns or the night shift, or maybe due to the stress. As you know, that traffic control is one of the most stressful job in the world. Second is being a mother. It's a challenge, dealing with breastfeeding, childcare, maternal assistance were quite challenging. And sometimes, or most of the times, you are absent, you are not present during your child's special moments. For example, during their birthday party or during a special volleyball match, for example, because you have to work. As you know, that aviation runs 24/7. After that, I noticed also that people don't trust women that much. I remember it took me 40 flight hours before my very first flight, solo flight, which is to me unfair compared to the other male trainee pilots. And last of all, most of the time I'm qualified as too ambitious. They say that I wanted to be everything, and at the end, finally I end up to be everything in aviation, because not a single time I cared about anyone told about or to me about that situation. The problem is that people tend to stigmatize women as incapable, sometimes incompetent, especially in a world where men are the most popular. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tafangi. The very interesting challenges you had to surmount. I'll ask a question on the challenges, but before that, I know what a lot of people are dying to know. 3 professions. Maybe now I know that it's 4, because being a mother is also a very big profession. But the big question is, how did you manage to achieve all this? And what was the inspiration? Did you just decide to do one course after the other just for doing sake, or there was a certain kind of inspiration that drove you? How were you able to achieve this, Dr. Tafangi?
Okay, let me share my screen again, if you don't mind.
Please go ahead.
Okay, now the key, you ask about the keys. The keys are time management and self-discipline. And to be proud to be a woman also is one of a success key, because you know, we women, you have a lot of advantages being as we are. So I think we need just to take benefit from it. What you need to do also is just to define your priorities, to set your own goal, and to do for it whatever happens, because I'm like that. And you need to stay motivated, you need to persevere, you need to be resilient. And what the inspirations, you told me, the inspiration, my very first one maybe was that in the beginning of my ATC courses, people kept on telling that the only reason I succeed to the ATC's exam is because my mother is a minister of in the Malagasy government at that time. So I needed to prove that it was not the case. And from that time, excellence and perfection have been part of my personal values, and brought that to my aviation world. And I wanted like to be the perfect professional in aviation. Like I wanted to be everything in aviation, and that is why. Also, I'm convinced that life is every lasting learning process. So you need continually to learn. You need to continually to improve yourself. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Tafangi. At least I know that I have been inspired. I've started thinking of which other professions I can add to my air traffic control profession. I know I used to teach some time ago. Maybe I'll go back to that to inspire some young people, teach them, and bring them up well. One final question I have for you, Dr. Tafangi. You mentioned challenges, the stress of the work, like miscarriage that some of your colleagues encountered. How can a young lady coming up overcome that fear, hearing that from you, that there's a possibility that I could face these things? Wouldn't it discourage some of the young ladies, and how can they overcome that fear?
As I've just told, that you need to get motivated. So you need to define your own goals and to go for it, whatever. And I know people most of the time encounter miscarriage, for example, but it's not at 100% sure. So if you want it, then go for it, whatever the obstacle. Try to achieve your goals, and that's it. And as my father told me all the time, that nothing is easy at all in your life. You need to fight, you need to work hard for what you want, what you need. So that's it. So if you want to be in aviation industry, you can have the positive side of it, but you will have the negative side of it as well. So you need just to, it's a matter of choice. It's your choice. Then it's your goals. So we need to go for it, whatever happens.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tafangi. So I believe that to the young lady out there, be motivated and know that there are risks, there are positives, there are negatives, but don't let that deter you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tafangi. If there is any other question that comes in the chat box, I'll surely put it to you. Okay, my next question, sorry? Okay, my next question goes to Miss Rosemary Charlo. Miss Rosemary Charlo, we would like to find out what challenges or barriers have you personally overcome, and as an ATCO and also as the IFATCA legal committee member? What challenges have you encountered, and what barriers have almost caused you to quit?
Okay, thank you very much. And I first want to start by saying a quote that I heard Michelle Obama say, that no one has ever achieved anything in life without going through challenges. If you're going to achieve any greatness, you're going to go through challenges. So challenges is something I'm familiar with. And one of the challenges when I joined ATC, as my colleagues have mentioned, is the challenge of being a mother and being a technical person at the same time, because you play different roles. You're a mother, you're a wife, you're a friend, and all that. So one of the challenges was just to find my feet, grow my career, at the same time, manage a family. That was a great challenge for me. And I can say, just as Dr. Tafangi there has said, it takes you have to motivate yourself, you have to push yourself, and they have a can-do-it attitude, no matter what. And another challenge I remember when I joined ATC, our regulations were not female friendly. We used to have regulations that would require pregnant females to be suspended, to have their licenses suspended from the day they even suspect that they are pregnant, until they give birth and until an aviation doctor confirms that they're actually okay. And what this would do for us as females would be that we would not have opportunities for career advancement, no opportunities for training. And I'm glad that this law was changed in Kenya. And now our lady air traffic controllers can train, they can advance their career no matter their state. Another challenge I've found, especially working in a male-dominated world, when you have to find a voice, otherwise you will be dismissed if you are not vocal. That's one challenge I found in the aviation industry. And I guess it's for every woman out there, no matter the profession, that you come in, if you're not very vocal, if you don't know what you want, you tend to be stepped on very easily. So you have to find a voice. And the other challenge that comes with that is that now that you have found a voice, now it becomes also a problem because you are labeled. They say that maybe you're too aggressive, you're too, you behave like a man, so there will always, I found that there will always be labels placed on you. And people say, what kind of a woman are you? You're too vocal, they feel uncomfortable about it. And in relation to that, you find that if you're advancing or whatever you achieve, it is said that you've achieved because you are either a woman or you are just given a free pass because you're a woman, or it is said that you advanced because the boss liked you, the boss was male and they liked you. So that's the only reason that you advance. And it is quite a challenge for not just for me, I know, for many females out there. And just as the previous speaker has said, you have to know what you want. You have to know what you want and go for it. And on the international platform, working for IFATCA, I have found one of the challenges. Of course, you'd be surprised that this problem is not just an African problem. It is a global problem. Having female representation even out there, you'd find it is not the norm even out there, outside Africa and the Middle East region. It is not common to have females in such positions. So I've also had to find my voice. And the other challenge is working in an international setting. We communicate differently from different parts of the world. And once you understand how other people communicate, which may be different from the way you communicate, then you are able to use such a platform to achieve much. And I'm glad that this opportunity working under IFATCA Professional and Legal Committee, I have used that platform to champion for issues that have affected our region. And one of the examples I can give is one working paper I did about licensing of air traffic controllers, which was becoming an issue for air traffic controllers in the actually in the world, but especially in some countries in the African and Middle East region. And I was able to bring out the issue very clearly and even propose solutions to that. And what I can say is, you asked me about how I overcome some of those challenges, is first, you become consistent. You become consistent in the message you're sending out there. It's not 1 minute you're giving quality work, the next minute you're unreliable. You need to be reliable, and you need to bring, when you get an opportunity, when you get a platform, whether it is a local platform or an international platform, make sure that your voice is heard. Secondly, make sure you use that platform very well to project quality work. Don't just go there and assume that you've been elected or the platform is just there. Don't, no, make an impact, whatever platform you get. Forget that you're female, forget that you're male, no matter what gender you are, whatever platform you get, make very good use of it. And not just for yourself, but to benefit whichever audience you may be having. Use it very well to be a voice for others who may not have the same platform. I hope I've answered you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Tafangi. And thank you very much, Miss Rosemary Chalu. Please forgive me for that error. And I have noted that you said there were challenges, and now things have changed. A lot has changed especially in ATC in Kenya. I'll come back to you to come and find out how Kenya has been able to do it so that we can also learn from it. But now I'll move to a question for Miss Senyawote. Miss Senyawote, can you hear me? Okay, I've received a thumbs up. I want to find out from Miss Tay, how is it like working in such a position as a safety manager? You are a young female in such a sensitive position. Do you sometimes get bullied by the men around you, and how do you handle them? And I know if any men from your section are listening, they should get ready for some strict answers.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Okay, so the good thing about my career path is that before I became the manager, first I became an auditor, an internal auditor. I used to, or I still do audit flight operations, maintenance, and all of that. So through that, I learned how to be assertive, how to stick to my guns, how to take my stance. And so because of that, I had the weapons to not let anyone believe me. If you come and say something, I am going to stand by with my guns and tell you that, no, this is not the way it is done. This is how it is done. It has been tough sometimes, especially in the setting that we are in, where the elderly, number one, and number two, men are considered to be right on all fronts. So now, how do you transverse that? How do you go beyond that to say that, yes, I do understand where you're coming from, but it doesn't make it right? That is the biggest challenge that I face as a young person and a young female in the aviation industry. There was a time that I had to, I reviewed a manual, I prepared a manual because I've also done a lot of documentation. And the person who was supposed to review it told me that I should go and get the DFO so that he can have a conversation with him. The interesting thing is that I was the one who was coordinating with the DFO on how to develop the manual, what to look out for, and so on. So I actually even knew more things about that manual than he did, but hey, what can you do about it? So that's the biggest challenge I would say I have faced. There have been times where, interestingly enough, we the women have brought me down. They have continually underestimated me and all of that. But despite that, I do think that most of the challenges that my fellow panelists have faced, for large parts, I haven't. I can say that the men and the women as well have been very supportive from my, what should I say, my beginnings in the GCAA as a national service person. Through all of that, all my bosses then, they were all men. And they were the ones who encouraged me to learn how to present publicly, how to go for inspections, how to conduct inspections, and so on and so forth. So it was through all of that that I was able to even end up where I am today. And then these same men now gave me the opportunity to shine. They respect my opinions. They value my opinions. When I have something to say, they listen. The CEO of the airline I currently work with can call me and say, Sanya, well, this and this and this and that. What do you think? I'll give my opinion, and he actually listens to me. So I believe that this is the way forward, that if we give each other the respect, no matter where we come from, no matter how we started, that respect that we are experts in the field and that this is what we have been employed to do, I believe that it will go a long way to eliminate all the challenges that we are facing in the industry currently. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tay. It's interesting to note that sometimes women have also been barriers and obstacles to you. I think we all have a lot to do to change if we want to progress, if we want to encourage the women in the field. I'll come back to you for you to tell us what the future holds for you. And I'm sure a lot of young ladies would love to know and be inspired by that. But I would move on to Dr. Agubata. And Dr. Agubata, are you there?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
thank
here.
you very much. Good, great, great. In fact, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, you have already answered it. But I want to find out, has the support been solid throughout from family, from your spouse, from the people that you've been working with, especially the male in the engineering department at NAMA? Has the support always been solid throughout, or has there been challenges, especially if you are willing to share from your spouse?
Okay. I must tell you, thank you so much for that story. I must tell you, for that question, I must tell you that the support has always been there. My spouse, my husband is actually my number one cheerleader. My family is my number one supporter. That's why I'm where I am today. On the work front, in terms of working with the men, as an African man deserves some respect. Once they see that you're competing with them, that's why you're going to have friction. The attitude I developed at work is that of collaboration, because we are not competing with them. Once you bring in the attitude of collaboration, they lose their guards. They work with you. They give you all the support. Let us remember that in the technical field, 10 or 20 years ago, we had few women. But now we are having a greater number of women enroll in the sector. We are not saying that they should lower the standard because we are women. No. What we are asking for is that we should be allowed to walk up to the table based on our competence and our skill. I must tell you that if you give them the required respect according to our culture and according to our tradition, the men will also respect you. They want us to come based on what we can offer, based on our skill. That was why I talked during my intro that we need to upskill ourselves at any particular point in time. That certificate that you think that you don't need today, when you need it tomorrow, you don't have it, it becomes useless because you cannot compete. We must be able at any particular point in time to have a pool of talent that we'll be able to bring to the table at any particular point in time. When we need it, do you have it? Not that when we need it, we don't have anyone that is qualified or something. No. That is why the advocacy we are doing, even in my office presently in NAMA, my managing director is a strong advocate of ensuring that women get equal treatment as far as their male counterpart is concerned. That was why he recommended that we have the first female director of engineering, the first in 25 years history of the agency. That is inclusion. That is diversity. That is coming from a man. That's coming from a male minister recommending this, having the first female FAN MD in more than how many decades of history of FAN is happening in this government. For me, I've had all my support have been from the men working around me. That was why I said in my intro too, that we need women to also raise each other up. Most times it's actually the women that is running the women down. in most of the cases. Most times the men are there willing to help. Not all men. Most of the men are always willing and helpful. But we must not use because we have pretty faces or because we are wearing beautiful dresses to say that, oh, we're not going to go for skill. No. Bring us to the table, allow us to walk to the table based on our skill, not a matter of based on our gender. Diversity, a more diverse team perform better than a less inclusive team. Studies have shown that, and it's actually achieving results, not just in NAMA, but even in my country as a whole. I'll give you an example of one agency, Here's Holdings, have more percentage of women in leadership in all their subsidiaries. Petrol Waterman and Smith employs women intentionally. They have 50% women in their workforce. If they want to put up an advert for recruitment, if they don't have a particular percentage of women apply for the job, they will cancel the application and wait until more women apply. Most times, because of bravery deficit in women, because of the way we are raised, we are not raised to be brave. The men are raised from ability to be brave. Bravery deficit in women is why we have low number of women in aviation career, in STEM careers, even in boardrooms, in leadership roles. Because men are willing and ready at any particular point in time to take the risk. But we are saying that the women are coming up. We are no longer where we used to be before, because the world have smelled the coffee that women are as good as men, and will continue in that trajectory moving forward. It's only going to be better and better and better, and it's not going to go down again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agubata. It's surprising coming up again that sometimes women are the enemies of women. And that kind of vindicates the men at a little bit. And we are not always to blame. And it's good to know that there are some men who are doing great. Spouses, husbands, support your wives. Thank you very much, Dr. Agubata. And shout out to your husband also. I will come back to you, Dr. Agubata, for some last remarks. But at this time, I would move on to Madam Juliet Okai. Madam Juliet Okai, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great.
I can hear
great.
you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. In your presentation, you made mention that you were a firm believer in affirmative action. And I wanted to find out, applying affirmative action strategies, would it indeed help effectively increase or improve female participation in aviation technical professions? And then in addition to that, you mentioned that strategies must be put in place. Could you enlighten us on what strategies you think should be used?
Come and check. His line is breaking. I can't hear him.
Madam Juliet,
I didn't hear your last. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can hear you now.
Yes, I was asking that applying affirmative action strategies, would they effectively increase or improve the female participation in aviation technical professions? And could you enlighten us with what specific strategies should be applied?
Okay, so thank you very much for your question. Maybe I want to, we are from different areas, so maybe I'll narrow it down to my country. Basically, we have to make a deliberate effort to get more women or girls into the aviation industry. That's why I say that it is good that the government has introduced this STEM, and they are serious about it, because I know there are secondary schools, second cycle schools that are specifically STEM, and they are encouraging a lot of girls to do STEM. I remember in my secondary school, there were only four girls in a science class. And I don't even think any of us, after access from my branch into accounting, we all found ourselves in different areas. So what the government is doing is very good. And then secondly, the fact that the Ministry of Education has also taken it upon themselves that they want to introduce aviation programs in our basic and second cycle schools. it's also a very positive one. So if we have these strategies, and then the organizational level too is important, because if the government does all these things, but at the organizational level, we don't make a conscious effort to bring in more girls, then whatever affirmative noise we make about affirmative action will not work. And then also, even in the organizations where we find our ladies, we should expose them, to training. And for instance, I am doing something. There's this program by Employers Association targeting female. So every year, I look at female at a certain level, grooming them to be able to sit in boardrooms. So I started with two ATC ladies. I'll mention their names, Ivy and then Augustina. They've gone through that program. Currently, Alisa is also going through that program with one of our legal ladies. So in my own small way, I'm making sure that our ladies who are already in the organization are exposed to leadership programs, so that when the time comes for us to pick leaders, we are not handicapped. Because currently it's myself and Joyce, who is the director for engineering. So it has to be deliberate. And wherever we find ourselves, I think that we should make a conscious effort to push our ladies up. I enjoy doing a lot of mentoring. I call my staff in here one-on-one. I ask you, so what are you doing? How are you improving yourself? I don't look at the naysayers. I told you that I don't want to disappoint women. And it is my firm belief, and I've made a conscious effort that before I leave GCA, I have to make a very big impact, especially with a number of women at managerial and possibly the executive level. So that is what I have to say for now.
Madam Juliet Okai, and I must say that—
Did you hear me?
Madam Juliet Okai, yes, I heard you. Can you hear me too?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear
Yes, I
you.
heard everything, and I was saying that you being my boss, I can vouch that indeed you are doing that. Sometimes I wish I could partner the women and enjoy some of the goodies you are giving them in GCA. But thank you very much for the work you are doing. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. At this time, I will just, time is fast spent because of the technical challenges we had. And I wish I could ask more questions, but I would have to stop here. But just in 30 seconds, I'll start with you, Madam Okai. What does the future hold for women in the aviation industry?
Yes, the future is very, very bright, because I believe the opportunities are there. We have to prepare ourselves and then be ready, and then be courageous to take up opportunities, take up challenges. You can do it. And then you need to have the support system. My support system, apart from the few women, have been men. My support, especially in Ghana Civil Aviation, have been men, because the women are few. So I think that we should work towards that. I mean, nobody will give it to you on a silver platter. Invest in yourself. Don't only wait for the organization to take you for training. Invest in yourself. Improve upon yourself. And then also be fair to others. It is important that we take the young ones also and pull them along. It's very, very important. We should not leave the system leaving serious gaps. It's not good. We should make sure that there's good succession planning as well, so that as you move on, others will come in and then fill the gap. So basically, that's what I want to say. And I want to say a very big thank you for including me in this panel. I've enjoyed the discussion very much. And I hope that next time I'll have the opportunity to come on board again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Juliet Okai. Indeed, you would have the opportunity again. I was telling the other panelists earlier on that the kind of people we have, the kind of panelists we have, we should probably have a whole seminar and everybody gets about an hour or an hour and a half to tell us all that is on their heart. So we'll definitely have you back again. Thank you, Madam Juliet Okai.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I would go back to Ms. Tay and ask you also, 30 seconds, what does the future hold for ladies and even for yourself?
Ethan, so thank you once again for the question. What I would say is that the future is very bright, like Madam Juliet said as well. And we are getting new strides in AI and data technology. So I believe that the next step in aviation is integrating whatever these fields have to offer into our our industry, so that we can produce better insights and make better strategic decisions when it comes to the decisions or things that we have to face in the industry. I would say that this is a perfect opportunity for all of us to get on board from outside the industry. You can use your data skills to come into aviation. But that being said, please, please, please go and study engineering. Trust me, it is not what you think it is. You would have a lot of fun. And yes, those men, they will support you. Don't be afraid. They will support you. They will help you. And you will even end up helping them. You would be surprised to know. So that's what I would say about that. I must say that another thing that I'm hoping for in the future is more visibility of us that are already in the system to the people that are now coming up, the ladies that are now coming up. They should see that it is tangible, it is possible for you to end up in such a field, and that all you have to do is to do it. But I am also hoping that I get the opportunity to come back to such a platform again. And next time I'm bringing my former boss as well, because she also did aerospace engineering, and she's a quality manager as well, and she has been very, very inspirational too.
I didn't hear. Sorry, I didn't hear.
Miss Rosemary Charlo, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, I was asking, also in 30 seconds, could you tell us what the future holds for female in aviation industry?
Okay, thank you so much. And I want to echo what the other presenters have said. The future looks bright because I can see there are many
It looks like I've lost Miss Rosemary Charlo. I'll go to you, Dr. Tafangi. Dr. Tafangi, in 30 seconds, what does the future hold for aviation? Females in aviation, I mean.
I know that in Africa, Africa is now open to female promotion, but I think you have a lot of work in front of us. And for me, it's a matter of mentality. So we need to deal with it. That's all, but the future is bright, as they say, but you need really to work for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tafangi. We need to innovate and we need to work for it. Finally,
and if I can have a final, yes, I want just to share motto which helps me a lot during my work life, and I wanted to share today is Barack Obama's motto saying, "It seems always impossible until it's done." So I want us to keep it for our personal use and even for our work use in female promotion in aviation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tafangi, and thank you for reminding us of that. Miss Rosemary Chalu, are you back? Okay, it seems she's not getting us.
Hello.
Is that Miss Rosemary Chalu?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, you can finish up.
Okay, sorry about the technology issues. However, I wanted to say that I am very optimistic that the future is very bright for the women in aviation, and just to encourage everybody who has a platform to open up opportunities or to encourage another woman to do so, because we need more targeted opportunities like this until we are at a point that we can say that we have everybody is represented. It's no longer an issue of having one gender or the other. And my last closing remarks is I also want to appeal to the members of IFATCA. As you may have noticed, I have offered myself to be the next executive vice president for the Africa and Middle East. And I have a good track record of using any platform to champion the issues of this region. And so I'm looking forward to being your servant at the IFATCA, as the IFATCA Africa and Middle East Executive Vice President. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miss Rosemary Chalu. And after all that we have said, indeed, a woman can do what a man can do. Finally, Dr. Agubata. Dr. Agubata, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so you also...
I can hear you. Yes.
Good. In 30 seconds, can you tell us what the future holds for female in aviation?
The future of women and female in the aviation industry in Africa is very, very promising, with a lot of opportunities, not just for growth, leadership, and empowerment. All we need to do, we need to grab the opportunity. We need to take the opportunity that is available today and scale up for the opportunity that will come up tomorrow. There's need for us to, at any particular point in time, commit to ensuring that the barriers to entry of women into the profession is closed. We need to close those gaps. We need to ensure that we intentionally close the gap in mentorship, the gap in getting the young girls to study STEM, but they need to get to science subjects that will get them to a career in this technical field in aviation. We also need to ensure that we have more girl child go to school. We need to get them to go to school. We need to get them to be educated. We need to collaborate with the men. No competition. Collaboration is very key. Let us commit to creating an environment where every individual, regardless of gender, has the opportunity to soar to new heights, to contribute in advancement of aviation, not just in Africa, but in the world. I know that together we can do it. Together we can achieve more. Together as women, we can pull each other. The ones that are already up there should be able to do what? To pull each other up. Like the director in Civil Aviation Authority that was saying, the first female director, the things that she has done intentionally. Let us be intentional about pulling each other up at any particular point in time. Together we'll achieve more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agubata. It is not for nothing that I made you give the final statement. Let us be intentional in pulling each other up. We want to thank our esteemed panelists for their time and the valuable information they have shared. I have been inspired so much, and I know all of our audience have been inspired as well. We want to thank IFATCA, AFM, for this wonderful collaboration with GATCA. We also want to thank the executives and members of GATCA, Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association, for making this webinar happen. Our special thanks also goes to Ghana Civil Aviation Authority for their immense support over the years. We are very, very grateful to you. To the team that worked tirelessly to make this webinar run smoothly, I say, Ayiko. And to our audience, you have been phenomenal. This webinar would not have been a success without your participation. In my local dialect, we will say, Oyiwaladong. I trust that the next time we meet on gender issues, we would have more success stories to share. Thank you, Midase, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.